Well, if that's the case, congratulations to you, Eric DaCosta. If you don't have to do it for 18 more years, and maybe you'll be retired if things go properly for you in your career advancement here. But that is the GM of the Ravens talking about the new head coach, Jesse Minter, formerly the defense coordinator, LA Chargers, Michigan Wolverines when they won the national championship a couple years ago. Was here in Baltimore from 2017 to 2020. So he was here when Lamar Jackson came into the league. He was here when Lamar won his first MVP. So he had seen some things. Dean Pease was and Wink were part of it in regards to the defensive side of things. So Jesse Minter, and if we turn back the machine to 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, he had always been considered a candidate, strong one at that, to be the head coach of the Ravens. And we were talking yesterday in real time, Nolan. It's Vinny Haynie, 105.7 The Fan, Bob Haynie, Nolan McGraw, Alex Camponi, other side of the glass. It's Featured Artist Friday. It's the Scorpions. I dropped a Kovacs on him because there was a loss in the Scorpions family, which we'll get to in due time. But Minter had met in Baltimore Wednesday, was going to Cleveland yesterday. And then Mary Kay Cabot, who's been on this program, been on this station a bazillion times, tweeted out that he wasn't going. He felt there was an opportunity elsewhere. And that opportunity, just 3 hours later, turned out to be the Baltimore Ravens. So Jesse Minter, ties to the Harbaughs, ties to the Ravens. They're there, and we're going to get into all of it. But, ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Minter is your new head coach, 42 years old.
Right. Can't say it's a surprise. You're 100% right. That was always the name that was the heaviest link to them as soon as John Harbaugh was fired. We've shared our opinions on the program. I was pretty vocal about Kubiak. I thought the timing was interesting that, of course, he's a little tied up right now preparing for Sunday. But I thought when Minter left on Wednesday without the offer in hand or without the formal announcement, that to me that signaled that, all right, we want to talk to Kubiak at least one more time. So maybe that his initial interview just didn't go well at all. They were always dead set on Minter. Whatever it is, we're here now. And I think there's a lot to be excited about. Even though I was in on offense and I was in on Kubiak, I would probably consider Minter a top defensive-minded choice. And it's not really because of the Ravens connection. That's kind of a secondary thing to me. What he did most recently here with the Chargers was outstanding. They were top 10 in points allowed both of his seasons. They were number 1 in 2024. I think there's a lot to like. I mentioned it yesterday, the fact that Oweh left here with 0 sacks, went over there and just completely shot out of a cannon, finished the regular season strong, and then was phenomenal in their one playoff game.
3 sacks.
That is very attractive to me. That's very appealing because, sure, the entire Ravens defense was a mess last year, but pass rush was the most glaring weakness. So anything he can do to aid in that, it's going to be personnel driven. They got to take some swings and get the right players here. But how about someone like Mike Green? What could Jesse Minter do for his career? That's exciting to me. But this is only step 1. We got to follow this up with a proper OC hire, and that's now going to be the talk of the town. Who does he want to work under him? Defensive-wise, I think that might be where he tries to go with guys that he trusts, maybe steal some people from L.A. and get them to come over with him. But, yeah, it's exciting. I didn't expect it to come out last night. I thought we'd have to wait till next week.
Well, got her done. Chargers, of course, their postseason ended in one game. But Jesse Minter, he's the new coach, 42 years old. His dad was a longtime NFL coach, or Jesse. Yeah, exactly. Minter coming in. So he's going to be the dude. Minter is coming, by the way. Did you see the Ravens social media post? 42, he'll come in. I'm assuming, Nolan, next week will be because it'll be the week between the championship game.
It's next Thursday.
And the press conference next Thursday. And that's going to be an exciting time because it's the first time in 18 years that we've gone down this road. And John Harbaugh, when he got the job, if you're old enough to remember, when he was hired, it was more of a, who the hell is he? Mm-hmm. Whereas Minter, you have some more intel. you have more social media outlets to follow along and learn information about these people. And, he was in the organization. And as you said, does that the end all be all? No. Mm-hmm. But there was something about him that resonated. And he was going to Cleveland. And apparently the Raiders were very interested in his services. So I can't judge it in a negative way until they start playing games.
Right.
But I'll look at it positively because I trust the powers that be at one winning drive. And I trust Eric DeCosta. Obviously trust Ozzie Newsome and his judgment. And Steve Bisciotti, ultimately, who defers to the people that he pays to make these decisions. He's the one that's going to stroke the paycheck. 5-year deal, apparently, according to Eric Schefter, for Jesse Minter. But, hey, I'm down with it. But like you just said, and I think everyone agrees, and we'll get to whether or not you agree with the hire at 410-583-1057 is the number. Did you want Brian Flores? Would you have preferred more of an offensive guy? Whatever your reasoning might be. If you want to bitch about it, now's your chance to do so. If you want to praise it, we're here for you. Putting together that staff. Mm-hmm. Joe Brady, and the Baltimore Sun was writing about it. Joe Brady, who's interviewed in Buffalo, their OC. Cliff Kingsbury, who according to Diana Racina, we talked about this yesterday, knows for a fact that Lamar Jackson and receivers wanted Kingsbury to be part of an Anthony Weaver, combo, but that's no longer part of the equation. But could Cliff Kingsbury maybe be that guy? I mean, there are certainly many candidates that could come in here and extract more from Lamar Jackson. Now, you have a guy who's won 2 MVPs, was first-team All-Pro last year. Let's not forget that. Didn't win the Most Valuable Player Award, but made the Pro Bowl, had the best year of his career, and was first-team All-Pro, which supersedes making it to the Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. He's had fabulous seasons. How much more at 29 years old can you get out of Lamar Jackson? Other than maybe, Nolan, the biggest thing, having a pleasant working relationship with him.
And that's always the biggest thing for me. I've been pretty adamant about that, and hey, for next Thursday, first question out the gate, if I was afforded it, what was Lamar's involvement in this process, right? Because we only heard about the 3 guys that got second interviews. And even then, we weren't sure this entire week. We're like, do we consider these guys finalists, or is there going to be a third round? Like, the whole timeline here was very interesting. But in hindsight, I guess we can confirm that Weaver, Minter, and Joe Brady was the third.
Yeah.
So they would be your finalists. That's kind of an interesting crop there. I'll stick with Kingsbury. If the players want him, I think that's something that would intrigue me, Minter and the organization. And some people said, well, what about Davis Webb? They interviewed him for head coach. Could be a strong offensive mind. Nothing against his age. I mean, we're practically the same age. I can't visualize myself being on an NFL sideline dictating these players, but that's a different story.
Without popcorn and a beer.
This guy's more qualified than me, I'll say that. But I might be a little apprehensive to hire a first-time OC at the same time that I'm bringing in a first-time head coach.
No doubt about that.
So Davis Webb, I might exclude him here this time around. Might lean more towards the Kingsburys, the Joe Bradys, who have been there and done that.
Now, what does a Minter do with the Chris Horton and Anthony Levine Jr.? We were talking about this as the Ravens have blocked lateral moves. The Giants kind of moving in there. We'll see. I mean, he's going to want, I would assume. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of overlapping pieces here, players and coaches-wise. I mean, 2020, it's 6 years ago, but that's the year they lost to Buffalo in the divisional round of the playoffs, the COVID year. So there are a lot of people that are on the coaching staff then who are still here. Mm-hmm. And I think Levine was still an active player, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2020. So he has relationships, but ultimately, overlapping aside, if he feels as though he wants to go in a different direction, then I would hope he's given full authority to do so here.
Yeah, I think that's par for the course.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hire an NFL coach these days and say, no, we're going to make the choices for you. If the coach hears that, hey, I'm not signing the contract.
You never know, though.
I'll take the offers. You never know. I just think at the very least, it's not like baseball, where that's almost the expectation these days, where you're the manager, but not really.
You inherit a coaching staff.
That kind of thing. But yeah, the Chris Horton thing's interesting because when that got announced, my initial thought was, oh, this is just to spite Harbaugh in New York, because clearly he would want to bring him along with him. And they have every right to block him from doing that. But now I think it does make more sense. You're right. Minter, when he was here as a defensive assistant coach, that overlaps when Horton was here on the staff. So maybe that makes perfect sense. Levine was a defensive back at the time, so Minter very familiar with him. Yeah, it could be a natural fit. I got nothing against Chris Horton. Raising an eyebrow at some of the special teams performances of the past couple of years. So that could be a part of it. But yeah, I'm not going to... If it's one less position that they got to fill, I think they might feel good about that.
If you want to get in, now's your chance. 410-583-1057 is the number. We're dedicated to you, the people. The Ravens have a new head coach, Jesse Minter, 42 years old, had the top defense in the country when Michigan won the national championship. Because the year prior, when they lost to TCU in the semifinals, where they got shredded in that game, that was the job on Hutchinson. That team got lit up. He did some self-reflection, came back the next season, had the best defense in the country. They won a national title. And as you pointed out, Nolan went to the Chargers in the last 2 years. He's had one of the better defenses in the NFL, fewest points per game in 2024. And this year, 5th overall in total D, and doing a lot of really positive turnover differential. You mentioned Ajabo getting everything, 10.5 sacks, playoffs and regular season combined after he had 0 when the Ravens traded him. Yeah, there's a lot to like about that and what he's going to do with a defense that is probably, maybe, kind of, sort of, definitely this year, the reason they didn't win Super Bowls or even make the playoffs this year.
Big part of it. And nowhere to go but up in a lot of ways. So he's got his work cut out for him, but we're talking defensive minds here. Him and Flores, that Flores is the only one that could challenge him. I mean, if you had Flores ahead of Minter, I can't really argue with you, but those are the two top defensive minds.